Stephen G. Originally, I'm from Cambridge, Ontario. I grew up there all through high school, and now I'm living in Barrie, Ontario.
Right. And your parents are also local Canadians, grew
Yep.
up here?
Yeah. They're, I guess their parents are local. I think they're third or fourth generation Canadian. So my family's been in the country for a long time.
Good. Now, how was it growing up in Cambridge?
It was I guess an easy upbringing. It wasn't. It was a small town when I was there, less than 100,000 people. So it was a very close knit community for the most part. You knew all of your neighbors and everybody around you. So that town is about an hour outside of Toronto. So very German. A lot of German people live there, but there was a Portuguese community as well, a large one.
Tell me about your family. How many kids do you have?
My family, I have two daughters.
Yeah.
One is 13, just finished grade 8, and the other is 11.
And how is school for them? Are they enjoying it?
Good, yeah, they both really enjoy school. My oldest was an honor roll going into high school, so that was surprising because I don't know where she got that gene from, but it was good. And then my youngest is very athletic, so she enjoys going to school, but she likes the sports a lot more than the actual classes. So.
You know she's going to see this, right?
I know.
And do you have a sticker that says I'm a proud dad of now?
No.
All right. Now, how about your wife? How is she doing?
She's doing well. Yeah, she's a biologist with Ministry of Natural Resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeps her busy.
Did you meet in school? Where did you meet?
We did. We met in, I don't even remember what year it was, but at the University of Western. Probably 97 was about when we met. Yeah.
She is so going to kill you.
I know.
And how did that work out? Western was more kind of diverse school. And did you have any preference, or did that even come to thinking?
To be honest, I don't think it ever really crossed my mind. It was a bit of a difference coming from the town that I lived in, but I don't remember any time that it was an issue for me or anything like that. So.
Now, we're in a kitchen environment here, so let's talk about food.
Okay.
And what kind of food do you like?
Now, I like a lot of different types of food, whether it's Thai, sushi, Italian food, it doesn't really matter. So.
You say now, which meant at some point.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very meat and potatoes family. There was meat and there was the starch and then there was a vegetable, and that was pretty much what we ate for dinner every night, and there wasn't a whole lot of experimentation or diversity to our meals at all.
And now, how's the rest of the family? Do they?
Yeah, I mean, we've never really, with our kids, we never really gave them the chicken fingers and the nugget sort of thing. So both my kids from 4 or 5 were eating sashimi and things like that. So they don't know any different. So.
Good.
Yeah.
How about friends? So, what are the kind of friends that you have?
I have a very diverse group of friends in terms of where they're from. I have some very rural friends as well as some that have grown up in cities. Yeah.
And would they come to Toronto? You said rural.
Yeah, well, they've been to Toronto, but it's not somewhere they enjoy going to much.
Tell me about your parents. How was it growing up with your parents?
Growing up with my parents, it was a great upbringing. My dad was a successful businessman. My mom, for the most part, was at home, but she was also an interior designer. So she was around most of the time because she could schedule around that. So, but coming from that family, I mean, my dad was very busy. So when we had the opportunities, we usually did things together, vacations, things like that.
What is the one thing that you bring to your family and your kids, or when it comes to the wisdom that you've learned from your parents?
From my parents, I think the biggest thing I learned from them is an honesty and an ideology for themselves. So, where they were going to go, a clear mission, and sticking with that no matter what people were saying or what was going on around them. So that's probably the biggest takeaway I had from them.
And when you're traveling abroad and you say, I'm Canadian, what makes you Canadian?
That's a really good question. That's a really tough one to answer, I think. I mean, it's the old cliche, right? That we're respectful, and you know, don't take a lot for granted, but we don't push our own beliefs on people where we are, to expect a certain type of treatment just because we are from where we're from.
Right.
So I think we're a lot more accepting that way.
When people say that we are passive aggressive, do you agree?
Yeah, I would say that can be true. Very true. Yeah, especially any of the English or Anglo dominated. You know, if you don't talk about it, it's not happening, sort of thing. So you find other ways to get your point across.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you address that when it comes to like a project team, and now you have various backgrounds in your project team?
Yeah, I guess for me, I've never really approached projects that way, or tried not to. I'm sure you fall into it from time to time, but I've always thought, you know, you're very straightforward. When things are going wrong, you admit it right away. When things are bothering you, admit it right away. And, you know, it can be very uncomfortable in the immediate situation, but in the long term, I think from a project point of view, things move a lot smoother. And I think people really respect you for it. They might not like it at the time, but I think they respect you for it. So.
Right. Now, you coach coworkers, and what, when you see coworkers who are, or meet coworkers who are not from Canada, what is the one thing that you want to always make sure you impart with them as you coach them, so that they act and behave to what we expect as Canadians?
Right. Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer. You know, really, it's really pointing out the culture in the office space, and you know, the things that they need to keep in mind that they might not necessarily be thinking of, right? So sometimes it's not just saying yes, I'll do it, or sometimes it's not just saying no, I won't. You need your reasons. You need to have a little bit of I guess politicalness to you, where I don't even know if that's a word, but be able to get your point across, and a little bit of emotional intelligence for that situation and how to deal with it. So.
And do you think that you need to constantly remind these individuals to ensure that, you know, they kind of behave the way we expect them?
Yeah, I don't think that's any different with anybody, though, right? Until you see that behavior, or until it becomes second nature, I think you're constantly reminding. So I think it's how you constantly remind, that you're not just going, hey man, like, come on, I talked to you about this yesterday, or you know, you can use examples, you know, in this situation, this was the outcome. How do you think you could have had that go differently, or something along those lines, so that you can get those behaviors to become common practice.
Right. Do you see that difference in behavior as it relates to backgrounds and with friends as well?
Definitely. You know, people, I guess, the products of their own environments, right? So when you're not exposed to certain situations a lot, they can either go one of two ways. You can handle it fairly well, or you can basically freak out, right? So
Right.
I see that with my friends in different situations. Yeah.
Right. So it was Pride weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Would you bring your kids to Pride
Oh,
weekend?
definitely. Yeah.
What would you tell them when they see what they might consider as an other than they are?
You know, it's weird. With my kids' generation, they don't see things the same way I think they would, right? They've been brought up in an environment in schools and in classrooms that are so inclusive now, compared to, say, when I was in school, that they don't really see it that way. And if anything, they're more accepting of it than I would have been at that age. So I really, honestly, haven't had to answer any questions beyond. I'm trying to think of a good example, but they're so accepting it. Sometimes it freaks me out a little bit.
Is that something that you learn from your kids now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that lens of seeing things. I mean, for example, if there's a special needs, kids are right in the room now, and they don't even consider them to be special needs. Or I remember saying to my daughter one day, and I can't remember the context around it, but I asked her, "Oh, is that a black classmate?" And she looked at me and she goes, "What's a black person?" And I said, that blew my mind, because she had no idea what was going on. And you know, that's just because no one's saying to them, you know, that's a black person, or giving them any kind of difference between the people, which is kind of cool.
Very good.
Yeah.
you have new Canadians coming into your workplace. What is the one thing that you will tell them as an advice so that they become successful as part of Canadian workplace?
Right. I think the biggest thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be quiet. Don't sit in the background because, if you're sitting in the background, you're not saying anything, you're going to stay in the background. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. And I guess the secondary one is don't feel that you need to change yourself like massively to fit in or anything like that. You have your values, stick with your values, and, everything will come after that.
Right. So people have, coming from different backgrounds, bring in different experiences and values, as well as different types of food, different types of hygiene, different types of anything. When there's a lot of that differences, and we say Toronto, Canada is a multicultural environment, is there a perceived clash between what you expect and what you are now faced with?
Yeah, I think in a certain sense there is, and it's more. I don't think it's. I don't know if I'd use the word clash, but there's certain situations you find yourself in where you just weren't expecting that because you're not used to something like that, right? And it's really learning how to react to those situations properly. And I don't think it's any different on either side of the fence, like where you are, right? So, yeah, I'm not really. But I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
It's learning to know that these situations are going to come up and how best to react to them.
Right. See, that was a good answer.
Thank you.
That's a very polite answer. Only a Canadian would be able
Exactly.
to say that.
I wasn't being passive aggressive or anything like that, though.
Damn it. All right.
I'm Canada.